Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. And believe it or not, this week is the Wellness Forum's Fall Conference, November 8th through 10th here in Columbus. You don't want to miss it. We have a few tickets left. And we are featuring this incredible lineup of speakers. Dr. Colin Campbell, who I have to say, his most recent book, Whole, is better than China Study. I never thought I would ever say anything is better than China Study, but I really think this book is significant in a different sort of way. Dr. Alan Goldhammer will be here from True North Health in California. He does therapeutic water-only fasting. Amazing, amazing doctor, amazing place. I've sent hundreds of people out there. Susan Levin from Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, Dr. Janice Stanger, and the Jazzy Vegetarian, and then her TV show every week will be here making an appearance. So you don't want to miss it. Fabulous food, fabulous education, great chance to mingle with some very interesting people. Make sure you get your body here this week. It's this weekend. Can't believe how fast this year has gone. All right. I have, this is distressing, aggravating, what I'm going to report to you today. The mischief just never stops in Washington, D.C. And I'm beginning to see the wisdom, and let's just throw everybody out. I mean, I really think we need to get rid of all these elected officials and then bring in new ones who will then, in turn, throw out the people who are running these federal agencies where so much misbehavior takes place. And I'd start, if it were up to me, with the USDA and the FDA, agencies that are so riddled with conflicts of interest at this point in time that I don't think that they have much value at all. This country would not suffer if these people were gone. So I'll talk about the latest. The Washington Post covered a recent episode of misbehavior at the FDA, and I guess the saddest part about this is just the status quo. This is what goes on all the time. People should be more upset about it, but they don't seem to be. According to the Post, an FDA panel charged with developing federal policies for safety and efficacy testing for painkillers was funded by the drug companies who contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars to participate in the process. And where the information came from that this article was based on was hundreds of emails that were obtained under a public records request. The panel itself was set up outside the FDA by two academics to provide advice to the FDA on how to evaluate data from clinical trials, and the drug companies paid as much as $25,000 per meeting to attend. The result was that the FDA officials who regulate painkillers were on the steering committee of this panel, which met in private and then co-authored papers with employees of the drug companies. What a cozy little relationship that is. A Columbus attorney and Wellness Forum member, Craig Mayton, made the public records request that resulted in all of this information being known to everybody in the Washington Post article. He said, quote, "These emails help explain the disastrous decisions the FDA's analgesic division has made over the last 10 years. Instead of protecting the public health, the FDA has been allowing the drug companies to pay for a seat at a small table where all the rules were written, again, outside the agency." The panel was organized by two medical professors, Robert Dworkin of the University of Rochester and Dennis Turk of the University of Washington, who received as much as $50,000 each for each meeting for organizing these things. The meetings weren't held in the government offices, but in conference rooms and hotels around the D.C. area. 30 to 40 people attended each one, including academics, officials from the FDA and the National Institutes of Health, and representatives from the drug companies. The only people who paid were drug companies. The feds were allowed to attend for free. Now, spokespersons for the FDA downplayed the importance of this, but Bob Rappaport, chief of the FDA's analgesic division and a participant in the meetings, bragged about how important they were and bragged about the influence of the group, which was called IMPACT. In a PowerPoint presentation, he described this committee as, quote, "a wealth of opportunity for communication that was advancing the science and approving new analgesic drug products." Again, this is drug companies collaborating with FDA officials outside the agency to do these things. The emails seem to make clear that this really was all about money and influence. The price was high even by Washington standards, and some companies complained. The organizers were really firm, though. One organizer, Dworkin, wrote in an email to the other one, Turk, and this is a quote, "20K is small change, and they can justify it easily if they want to be at the table. Everyone's been very happy with the meetings, and they are getting a huge amount for very little money. Impact on FDA thinking, exposure to FDA thinking, exposure to academic opinion leaders and their expertise, journal article authorship, etc., and they know it." That's a direct quote from the email. In another exchange, company rep said that he could only come up with $10,000. Dworkin then wrote to Turk, his colleague, quote, "He didn't realize we were inflexible on the 25K and then asked a bit testily how many companies were already on board. And when I said 10, he then asked if it cost $250,000 to hold a meeting in D.C. I gave our standard response to this, which seemed to mollify him fine." Still another exchange indicated that the two seemed to know that they were at the ethical edge on these meetings. Turk wrote to Dworkin, "The natives are restless regarding finances for impact, and I don't know how we will bury the postdoc funds if we are too specific." Government officials also seem nervous. The Post reports that a National Institutes of Health staffer said that since the drug companies paid for the meetings and they were held in private, impact might be compromised because it was, quote, paid for by a few large pharmaceutical firms who are assumed to be influencing the outcomes. It didn't stop that official from attending, however. The FDA claims that had the meetings been organized by the FDA and taken place in the agency's office, that the rules would have been much clearer about sponsorship, openness, and other issues. But since the meetings were organized outside the agency, there are no rules governing the activities. Now, FDA and NIH employees seem to be ethically challenged and unable to make good decisions, so perhaps we need a new set of rules that is developed for how to conduct themselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of where they are, or maybe we could just throw all of them out, back to my original premise. I don't know how you fix people like this. I don't know how you fix a system that is this corrupt. We just have to get rid of all of them. And then in the meantime, FDA approval means nothing. FDA denial means that these people are completely irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. I hope you're as angry about this as I am. And I hope you're as committed to telling people about this as I am, because that's the only way we're going to make this go away, is when everybody in the country knows how corrupt it is. All right, so that's the end of my rant for today. That's all for now. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think ought to be aware of it, and I will be back to you again on Thursday.